Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass. Thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, let's go back to the last video and show you the two maps we talked about for the snowfall that we got over the last weekend. We know that we were looking at a snowfall path. Look over here at the map on the right that was going to extend from Colorado through Kansas, through the Ohio River Valley, all the way over to the east. We knew that there were a couple of regions we were really concerned about, that being Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, and also over here, right in parts of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, that area. Well, you want to know why I'm so addicted to using the European model? It just does a phenomenal job, and it's the best performing global model. I mean, look over here at the probability of getting at least 6 inches of snow. It highlighted this region right in here as being the most impacted, and this is what actually happened. We can see how well that model picked up on those regions we just discussed. So the reason why I lead with this, the reason why I'm showing you this map where we had actually over a foot of snow in parts of Missouri and western Illinois, the reason why we start here is because we've got more coming, and we're going to rely on that European model to give us the best projections forward. Now, just for the fun of it, I got to show you this video. This video came out and just was all over the place on Twitter. This is in Austria, and you can clearly see here this massive wedge of snow. So if you think you got a lot of snow there in the Midwest, just want to let you know there's some other places on Earth that are getting hammered with snow as well. Okay, let's get away from that and get back to our forecast. Now, everything that we're going to be dealing with is getting set up in the Pacific Ocean right now and over the North Pole. So I want to start off with the pattern first, and then let's let this evolve into an understanding of these next couple of weather systems. So here we go. Now, what do we see in the near term? Well, we're now getting through the 16th and 17th of this week. So this is midweek. The big feature to watch is right there. If you look over on the West Coast, we see that by Thursday into Friday, a deep trough is finally going to get out of the Gulf of Alaska, across the Rocky Mountains, and then it's going to dive here into the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. Okay, we're looking at the European model ensemble. So this is 51 different model simulations putting that upper level trough feature right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to watch this trough feature kind of eject and run up the East Coast just like this as I animate this forward. You can see it digging pretty deeply and then running up the East Coast. You see, whenever we see a pattern like that in winter, this is going to be a big player for the middle section of the country and the East Coast, especially because that trough initially digs and then lifts up the East Coast. We're not going to produce a big system through the middle part of the country, but a massive nor'easter. That's what that pattern signals. Now let me show you what else you need to be paying attention to in this animation. As I get you past that date, we're now to the 22nd, so this is now next week, we can see that the atmosphere is going to allow cold air to finally return to central Canada and then get things set up into this negative EPO phase, the East Pacific Oscillation. And what that means is ridge in the Gulf of Alaska, deep trough here in the middle part, in eastern two-thirds of the country, and that is going to signal a very stormy, strong winter storm track. So we've got all of this to discuss. Now, remember how I talked to you a few weeks ago about how the recipe to getting one of these big blizzards is to get a large high-pressure system here with a trough that ejects, creating a low-pressure center that kind of tracks something like that. Well, you can see that by the time we get into Saturday morning, so this is valid Saturday morning, we've got just that. We were lacking this big area of higher atmospheric pressure right here, giving us the necessary cold air and that large pressure gradient to get these big winter storm systems. It's in place for this weekend. Let's see how we get there. I want to start off by animating you first the operational European model. So you can see that as we get through the middle part of this week, if we just focus on the middle part of the country, that first system that brought all those problems over the weekend is now off the East Coast, and things are relatively quiet throughout much of the country Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday. Now we have this first little system that's going to try to squeeze through the middle part of the country Thursday morning. Can you see it right here? This is not the main player. This is kind of the precursor to it. This is Thursday morning. We're going to have some decently warm air coming up on return flow like this, and that's going to be bringing some widespread rain into this area and possibly a mix on the northern side of that. But this is not the big player that we're going to look out for. You see, look at what's going on there in California. That is the big upper level trough spawning this very large low pressure system that hits the West Coast first and then gets over the mountains. And right there it's over the mountains. Now this is Friday morning. Now watch what happens as that trough digs into the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas on Friday evening, and then right there it comes out on Saturday morning. Now the operational European model wants to put that center of low pressure somewhere in this vicinity. And if it does that and tracks on off like this, it'll be a lot of rain to the south, but we'll have enough cold air on the backside of this that we could be putting down quite a bit of snow in an area that we've already seen a lot of snow. Now, the big question is, we are out here all the way till next Saturday, and that's a long way out in the forecast. So the question is, how much can we trust this single model run? So to do that, I want to look at a few different things here. First of all, what do we know? You've got a 4-panel plot. The top plot is the operational European model from Sunday. In the upper right, that is the GFS. In the bottom left, this is the UK Met, so this is run out of the United Kingdom. And then we have the Canadian model down here on the bottom right. And all of them are forecasting for about the same time period. We see that all 4 of our top performing global models are trying to put a low pressure center somewhere in this vicinity. And because of that, we can see that there's good model consistency. Next, when we look at the different model runs one after another, we call that dprog DT. We also get that they're all trying to consistently put a low in that same area, at least for the last several runs that we had over the weekend. And I think most importantly, the 51-member ensemble, that is the European ensemble, every single member is trying to do something in the center part of the country, producing a low in that area for next Saturday. Now, what do we not know? We do not yet know, as of this recording, the exact timing of this, the exact track of the snowfall totals. I'll show you what the ensemble members are picking up on, but what I do need you to all understand is this. What we're expecting, look for another significant event next weekend. Track will change over the coming days. We'll give you a brand new update on Thursday morning, which gives us a much better idea. Be patient with us as we're analyzing this system and kind of resist the hype. You're going to see a lot of folks talking about major snowfall totals. We don't know that stuff yet. All right, let me at least get you here. This is looking at over the next 10 days, European model ensemble picking up on the snow track. So all I'm trying to do here is not look at amounts, but instead look at consistency. And what we see is that feature. So this just tells me that a low has got to form somewhere here and then go racing up in this direction in most of the European ensemble member forecasts. And that is what we look at. We're looking for consistency here, not amounts. So if you ask me, this will be the region right in through here that we're going to have to be paying most attention to with this next big system coming out next weekend. A lot is going to change between now and then, but that is the major feature. And this could be a substantial nor'easter that we're going to have to watch. Also, look at this. We can see as the pattern changes, getting more of these clippers coming out of parts of Alberta. Okay, meanwhile, look at all the snow that's coming into the mountains in California, because remember, before the system gets going here, it's got to go through the mountains out west. So this is a very, very active time period, and this is not the end of this story. But remember how I told you that we were going to start to see a storm track shift? Remember, for much of December and early January, we were very wet down here. We had a strong subtropical jet and a lack of cold air that was really, kind of allowing these systems to kind of dig in and lift out into the northeast. Well, what do we see now? We see that the active storm track is in through this area through the next 15 days, and that's the shift. Also, look at how wet things are in California and how dry they're going to be in the Pacific Northwest. And that's because we are about to get ourselves into a bit of split flow problem here for the Northwest. So let's diagnose that. Here's our forecast from the European ensemble. We're going to go all the way out to the 23rd. And as we talked about, that upper level trough starts to slide back toward the west. That is the negative phase of the EPO. That allows a ridge to build out west like this and a deep plunging trough to take shape here in the middle part of the country. And that's going to allow a lot of that cold air in this area to finally start to be used in the middle part of the United States and the East Coast. I think we'll also still see a coupling of the subtropical jet. But the problem with this flow pattern is this is dry in this area, and that is not a place you want to be dry in winter if you're in production agriculture in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not happy to see that for that area, but for the eastern half of the United States, winter is coming back, and it's coming back big time. Watch what these temperatures do. This is an animation out every 6 hours through the next 15 days here, and that's the return of the cold air. So what do we expect? Certainly a return of winter, and this looks like it's going to last into February. Also, what do we expect out of this? A very active storm track initially in this area. And then I honestly say if we have the coupling of the subtropical jet and the polar jet stream, I would expect to see a lot of clippers coming down out of this direction, several Colorado lows coming out of here, and then occasionally we're going to get these storm systems that kind of hug the Gulf Coast and go up to the East Coast. All three of those storm tracks definitely in play as we finish out the month of January and begin February. So get ready, snow lovers. I think we're in for it for the eastern half of the country for at least the next month or so. Okay, let's now shift our attention to South America as we finish this up. Let's compare a year ago, that's the map that's over here on the right, to this year. We're looking at the Vegetative Health Index. We know that what we've been seeing over the last month or so is things have been quite wet down in this region. Now, we can't really use this particular map in parts of Brazil, and that's because there's a lot of cloud contamination in it, and we can't really get a good sampling of what everything looks like. But in southern Brazil and in Argentina, we can. Remember, a year ago in Argentina, we were starting drought. This was the beginning of that nasty drought we had back in 2018. Well, 2019, it has been extremely wet in this area, and we're going to continue to stay wet there. For the next 15 days, we see that same pattern I've been talking about. Dry in this area, wet in the northern part, wet down here. So we're just going to keep hammering the same regions with lots of thunderstorms, and that's partly due to the continual development of a deeper trough feature right in through here, and that just keeps stringing fronts across this area. Lots and lots of heavy rain down in southern Brazil, Uruguay, and parts of northern Argentina. Meanwhile, this area is still showing up with a drier pattern. We've still got the monsoon. It's still circulating in here, but it's just not got enough moisture because it's all focused down here to the south. Now, just to kind of show you maybe one reason why this is, we've got right now this kind of weird looking El Nino where it's warm anomalies in through here, but cool to the south. I went back and pulled off the driest Februaries on record in central Brazil, and it was interesting. They all kind of had a similar pattern to that. We also know that the drier Februaries have large troughs in this area frequently. So we're seeing several things that kind of line up with that weakened monsoon in central Brazil. And I think it's just going to be something we're going to have to keep a very close eye on to see if it ever returns to full strength to kind of help the end of the first crop beans and then that safrinha corn and cotton crop. So right now it's looking like it's going to continue to stay dry. So that's a lot to take a look at here, but we want to kind of give you the full story with it. With that, I'm going to wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions thank you for your attention. Hope you look forward to that next update coming out on Thursday morning. Thank you.